And it should say when we're live. Does it say? Yep, we're
Yep.
live now. And
Nice.
then you're on Facebook too, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so this is live streamed on Facebook, and that's probably the most popular, most views that I get is on Facebook. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream. This is one that I've been talking about for a little while. We have a TikTok famous groomer, Vanessa De Prophetis.
De Prophetis.
De Prophetis.
Yeah.
Up in the Great White Northern.
Canada.
Up in Canada, Ontario, Canada. Vanessa, so you're a groomer.
Yep.
Would you mind telling us just a little bit about your business and what you do?
So I run a grooming business in Ontario, Canada. My job is to maintain pets, not just for vanity reasons, but also for sanitary reasons. And that's pretty much it. I work with dogs all day long, every day. I have 4 dogs of my own. My whole life is surrounded by dogs.
You're a dog fanatic, just like
Dog fanatic.
so many people that watch this live stream. We eat, breathe, and live dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're not working with dogs, we're going home and hanging out with our own dogs.
Exactly.
And
it's the life.
Hey, do you do any of the extreme grooming stuff?
I do colors, but I don't do any of the crazy extreme. No.
Like compete yourself or anything like that?
No, I don't do any competitions.
Man, what do you think about that stuff?
I think it's incredibly talented. I wish that I could eventually maybe get there one day, but I definitely don't see myself as being that good of a groomer. Those shows blow my mind. I don't know how they do what they do, but it definitely takes a lot of training.
Yeah, there's a couple shows, one on Amazon, and then I think there's one that HBO did a documentary on the extreme grooming, and literally they're carving like mermaids.
I know
it's dogs, and
it's, you know what, you have to have really well-behaved dogs for one thing. So most of those dogs are owned by the groomer. So the groomer has trained them to be that well-behaved for grooming. But for me, I'm a pet groomer, so I get the regular maintenance of pets. I don't really get to do fancy things because people want their pet to be short, kept that way so that they don't get overgrown and matted. So for me, I do basic stuff all day long. I kind of wish somebody would come along and say, hey, let's do something a little bit creative this time. It would get me out of doing the same routine every day. But yeah, mostly I'm just doing pet shave downs.
Well, and I remember listening to this documentary, and that's what one of those groomer was like. I was burned out on doing the pet stuff all the time. That this was kind of an outlet for me, so I can see it as being that creative outlet. Like so many dog trainers, they have their own professional dog, or they go out and do some precision work, bite work, all that stuff with these animals.
Yep.
So if you guys aren't on TikTok, check it out. I warn you, you will become addicted. How long have you been grooming dogs, Vanessa?
10 years now.
Okay. And you hear that, you guys? She says, I don't feel like I'm good enough,
Not good enough for that, but maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day. And a lot of times what we've been talking about, especially in the dog training world, have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
It's when people enter into kind of an industry thinking that they know a little bit more than they should, or knowing more than they, and we see that a lot of times in dog training. And I think it's refreshing, that you've been doing this 10 years and you're still, you're still like, dude, I'm not good enough to do any of that stuff. I'm just a maintenance type of gal. And, if you guys have, once you get on TikTok, check her out. How many followers on TikTok are you at right now?
1.2 million. It went up pretty fast, like overnight almost.
Well, I think that it hits people are interested, and let that show you that there's a vacuum for this information. Mm-hmm. There's kind of a firewall between grooming and the general public, because what do? They drop their dog off, they leave, they come back, and everything's done.
Yeah.
Right. And the TikTok has the ability to put these into bite-sized snippets where you can actually show the whole process of it and do the voiceover where you talk about each step. Yep. And not only do you talk about it, but you also go into the tools that you use, why you use them, the different dogs and the different temperaments that they have.
Yep.
Hey, Vanessa, what are all of your aggressive dogs?
All of the aggressive dogs I groom are small dogs. However, that being said, I won't say that that means that there aren't any aggressive large dogs. I
Right.
think that the majority of people won't bring their large dog to me if it's aggressive because they're worried I'm going to get injured. So even though it does go that way where they're all the small dogs, and honestly, the majority of small dogs, they're more aggressive than the large dogs. Really, they are. I think mainly because they're babied by their owners, so they don't have any proper obedience.
Mm-hmm.
People think we don't need to bring our small dog to obedience classes. We only need to bring our large dogs. So that's the reason why. But I do think that people are smart enough to know, hey, if my Rottweiler is going to bite someone, I'm not going to bring them to the groomer.
Well, there's much more damage that a Rottweiler does versus, a Bichon or something, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's it too, is just you know, the damage. and and do you know what, we can pull up some of your TikToks and I can show them
Sure.
on the iPad too, just to show people. But the reason why I reached out to you, I mean, just I think what you do is phenomenal, and I'm a big fan anyway. But the one guy that stood out was Ace.
Yeah, Ace.
Your Morky.
This is Ace.
There he is.
He looks like a disaster right now. This is what a groomer's dog looks like because we don't have time to groom our own dogs.
It's like my dogs. I call them the
Exactly.
preacher's kids, man. They'll show you exactly how to get in trouble the quickest way possible.
Yep. Yep.
So I remember watching, and it just struck me because as trainers, we often get called to stop behavior, right? And stop behavior like dead in its tracks without taking into consideration that individual that dog is, right? And I love how you were talking about Ace and how does he do with the grooming process, Vanessa?
He's always hated the grooming process, especially the blow dryer. That's his arch nemesis. But it has to get done. Whether he likes it or not, it's getting done. I do find dogs that as they get older, they can become more difficult. And I think that's because they get arthritis and their hips, and all that. So they're sore.
And
So
the little bones
unfortunately,
in their hands, all that.
yeah, they're bony. And like, especially Ace, like he's only 3 pounds and he's basically just all bones. So shaving him can be quite difficult. People will ask me, well, is my smaller dog cheaper than the bigger dog? And I said, well, no, it's the same price. And they asked me why. It's actually more difficult to groom the smaller dog. I would much rather do bigger dogs than small dogs. And when I talk about that, I mean really small dogs, like 3-pound dogs. They're like chicken wings. But to get back to the topic, they're so small. But to get back to it, if they don't like the grooming, it doesn't really matter. It has to get done. So we have to figure out ways that keep them the most comfortable, but still get them groomed. That's just how it goes.
That's right. That's part of the process. Now, how do you deal with dogs that have issues with nail trims?
The majority of them, not all of them, it depends. Some of them don't like the nail clipping and they'll pull away, and that's pretty easy to manage. But dogs that try to bite and flail around, I put them in a harness that extends them off the ground so that they don't have the ability to push off the ground.
Okay.
And it keeps their head away from me so they can't spin to bite me. And then, of course, we have to put a muzzle on them for the dog's safety and for my safety. And then that's it. Then we clip their nails.
Oh, I'm turning on TikTok. Hold on.
No
I have my
problem.
wife's iPad, but I have no clue how this thing does. Is it over here? How do you turn it up and down? I don't know, but here, let's do girl with dogs. Because you just had an aggressive, you get inquiries on how you do aggressive dogs, and then that has that harness. And first thing that I've been taught, and that's what we take away, when we have a dog that's coming after us, they're using their front paws as their leverage off that ground to come after us.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one of the first things that I want to take away is that ability for that dog to come after me. So you'll see a lot of times trainers, especially if we have a dog that's biting, that comes after us, they'll lift that dog straight up, get their hands off that. And one of my mentors says that if you got control of the head, you have control of the dog.
Right.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
in grooming, let me type this in. I mean, you're on a table, they're stationary, and there are tools that you can use to help mitigate this process and help the dog realize, hey, look, I'm not dead, right? And we get to the other side, and I actually feel nice, and it is part of the process of living with these dogs. If we do not groom them, what are some of the things that can happen?
Well, obviously, not every breed of dog requires grooming. A dog like Ace has hair that continues to grow until it's cut. So this has to be maintained, whether it's maintained at home or by a professional. Most people at home do not have the ability to groom their pet properly simply because they aren't trained how to use the tools that we use. And as well, at home, animals act a lot differently than when they're with me. So I just recently posted a video of a Maltese. I just posted it this morning. And my
Charlie?
client said, Charlie, yes. And my client said to me, I don't believe that my dog is well behaved. Can you please make a TikTok of him? Because you've always told me that he's well behaved, but I don't believe it. So I did, and I showed her. I said, he's great. He doesn't give me any problems. And she said, I don't understand. If I tried to do this at home, he would go ballistic. And they just know at this point, I've trained the dog how to be with me. They know it's getting done whether they like it or not. So they just, a lot of them will shut down. So they're so fearful that they will just stand still and they won't do anything.
Right.
And a lot of people will say to me, well, you shouldn't put that dog in a harness because it's clear that the dog is in distress when they're in the harness. And I say, well, I'm not a trainer and it's not my job to train this dog. I only see it once every 8 weeks. So I can't make the dog get used to grooming. Yeah, that's Charlie. So my job is to find a way to complete the groom that's going to be safe for both the dog and myself. Even if the dog doesn't like to be in the harness, it's the easiest way to get the job done without causing injury.
Blueberry cologne, huh? Look at that handsome man.
He's cute.
And I think they look so much better when they're groomed like that. And
Yeah,
that's
me
it,
too.
and people, that's people, I get it because I love these dogs too. Right. And we're dog fanatics. You have them all around you. You have one in your lap now. And a lot of times when we approach this relationship because we love them so much, people are trying to use their emotions to try to think with their emotions. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever they see a dog that might be stressed or anything, they get very uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
Right.
they don't like it. That they don't like the response that the dog is giving to the grooming. But at the end of the day, regardless, it has to get done. So some dogs, like my dog Ace, doesn't matter. I've been grooming him since he was 8 weeks old. He hates it. It's just the way it goes. He runs past my shop door every day so that he doesn't have to go in there. He shakes the second that I put him on the table. He's not being abused. He's not being hurt. He just does not like the process.
Right.
So, and then there's my German Shepherd. She actually got the most views on TikTok. She has about 40 million views on her video. And she
Let me
loves
get her
it.
up here. Yeah, that's the one.
It's pretty far down.
Is it?
You'll have to look
So
for it.
when did you start the TikTok? So when did you start the TikTok, and how did you start it, and all that stuff? That's what I want to know.
I started in April because we were in lockdown, which we are in lockdown here right now as well. So I was bored, so I just started making a TikTok of my own animals. And then when I got back to work, I decided to do videos.
You got like
of
a
the ones that I was
bee
grooming.
trimmers. Is that her?
That's not her. No, that's Hank.
But I want to talk about the undercoat and stuff too.
Yeah.
So and listen to that, folks. She took an opportunity with this lockdown. A lot of these businesses we've seen go under here in the States. It's been pretty detrimental to the industry, especially to boarding, because people don't go out of town anymore.
Yeah.
Right. There has been a plus side. There's kind of a COVID puppy rush. Do you see that up there?
Yeah. There's a plus side and a negative side to that, because a lot of people got puppies in lockdown, but then didn't socialize them properly because they couldn't. So a lot of them are being very difficult to manage, unfortunately.
Yeah, I find that to be true too. I actually hosted a little puppy class here to help mitigate that. And yeah, that's the problem, because the formative years, that window to really, really introduce those dogs to proper socializations, let them get the ability to kind of experiment with other puppies and to to have a give and take and to learn is super, super important. I can't believe that's been only since April since you've started this. That's crazy. So which one is it? This one, my dog. Every time I visit the washroom. No, that's not. That's my dog's too.
That's her, but that's not the video. You'll have to go up more, I think.
I'll look for one that's
She was
got a
one
lot.
of my very first grooming videos. Not the first one, but close.
So
to the
what did
first
you
one.
start doing with the TikTok?
I just started taking TikToks of my own dogs, trying to make them funny. And then I almost gave up because I wasn't getting very many views. But then when I went back to work, I did a few videos of grooming dogs, and then I did one of Zoe, and she somehow managed to get 40 million views. I don't know how that happened. And that's when all of my followers went up, and I started to get a lot more attention.
Zoe, how to clean your dog's ears. You know, I love this. You guys follow her, the girl with the dogs. I mean, this is a wealth of knowledge that you can just kind of go through. Okay, so I'm still not finding her. Zoe, let me see.
It's a more the first clip is a picture of the bathtub, and she's walking up the steps.
Okay. My dog's like my boyfriend. Is it before that one, do you think?
It's after that one.
There's a crazy guy. So talk about some of these tools that you use too. So you have a sprayer. The sprayer that you have does it have soap in it? It has a switch that you can.
Yep, it's called a soap dispensing car wash nozzle. So it's actually for washing cars. I found it on Amazon, so I decided to give it a shot because if you buy bathing systems, it essentially does the same thing. It mixes the soap with the water for you and then sprays it out of the nozzle. But they're like $800 to $1,000. So this was 20 bucks on Amazon. So I thought, hey, let's give it a shot, see if it does, anything. It's wonderful. Groomers all around the world now have seen these videos and they're buying this nozzle because it works so great. But the best thing about it is that it shoots the shampoo right down to the skin. So you don't have to do as much scrubbing and lathering in order to get your animal clean. And anyone can buy it. It hooks up to any hose and it's easy to use in the backyard in the summertime or whenever you want, really.
And then I'm assuming you have hot and cold on that hose that come up. Okay. And then what was that? So then you have another nozzle that you use to get the undercoat out.
Yes, that's called the Save Your Fur nozzle. So Save Your Fur is a bathing system, but the cool thing about them is that you can buy the nozzle separately. So I bought the nozzle. It was only $60 Canadian. And I tried it on my first dog with a really thick undercoat, and it was amazing the amount of hair that comes off of them in the bath.
Look at this.
And what's so cool about it is that now the blow dry takes much less time, which is the part that the majority of the dogs don't like is the blow dryer. And then the hair that blows around my shop is very limited, easy cleanup, and better for your health as well, because remember, we're breathing that in as we're blow drying the dogs.
Well, and that's why you see these groomers wearing like beekeeper suits.
Yeah.
Right. And masks, and it's because of the dander that can get into your lungs and so this is one that I wanted while I'm still looking for Zoe. This is one that I wanted to point out too. This one's the one that you did recently.
Yeah.
And
Samson.
this is, so Samson's,
So he's a reactive dog. So if you go to Samson's house and see him, he's a wonderful dog. He's loving, playful. He's not aggressive in any way. But for grooming, and it's strange because when I first started grooming him, I didn't have these problems with him. He didn't like having his bum done and he didn't like having his nails clipped, but that was the only issue I had. And for some reason, he started getting worse every time he came in. And I don't really know why. Nothing happened in the grooming shop to make that happen. So I don't know why some dogs, I don't understand why one day they just wake up and they decide, you know what, I don't like this anymore.
Not today.
It's strange how they just change. And people will say, well, something must have happened. But I personally know the owners of this dog. So I know that nothing has happened. So it's just strange, but we have to, figure out ways to get the grooming to be not so much them be okay with it, but just get it done safely. So for him, that was the first time I tried him in the hammock, and it was much easier to get him groomed. A lot of people commented on that video saying, he didn't look aggressive. And that's because of the hammock, which if I had videotaped the previous time that I groomed him, everyone would have been like, wow, how did you do that? So the hammock makes such a huge difference in their behavior.
Well, let that be a testament to, that solution, right? Because look, obviously he wasn't aggressive there. So we got it done, what
Yeah.
needed to be done. And people say, well, I don't want to stress out my dog or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to stress, but I was stressed on the highway coming over here, but we still have to deal with it. It's part of life.
Yeah.
It's part of, the world that we belong to. So Karen asks, would you post the name of the nozzles? And so
It's both nozzles. The first one doesn't have a name. It's just a car wash soap dispensing nozzle. Just type that into Amazon, and there's so many different brands that come up. They're all good.
here, I can post it up here. Car wash. But what a great idea, and and let that also tell you that we're dealing with an entrepreneur, right?
The car wash nozzle, though, I will say, you can't really just buy any shampoo. You need to buy a shampoo that has a heavy dilution rate, so like 50-1, and you have to dilute it to use it. If you try to use just a regular shampoo from your pet store that isn't very that has a lot of water in it, it's not going to soap up and suds up and get your dog as clean as you want.
So I mean, hold on one second. I'm gonna share my screen with you so we can see. Would this be something? Can you see the screen?
Yeah, that's the exact one that I have.
All right. So I will post a link right now to this in the comments down below for you guys. And thank you, Vanessa.
No problem.
And then you have and do you get one of those metal bathing tubs? Is that what you use?
Yeah, I bought mine from Ren's Pet Depot. Like I said, I'm in Canada, so I don't know exactly. You might be able to buy it at Pet Edge if you're in the States.
Yeah.
The bathtub is obviously expensive piece of equipment, but it's nice because it has a grate in it that goes up and down. So for the small dogs, you put the grate up and then they're at eye level with you. And then for the large dogs, it goes down and steps pull out, and then they just walk up the steps into the tub.
Okay. And then those, I mean, that's what I've always with my dogs, especially the little guys. We have a little tub out here elevated, and it just saves your back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
especially
for
when
sure.
you're doing it. How many dogs do you groom on an average day?
Anywhere from 12 to 15. It's a lot of dogs.
It really is. I mean, in 10 years, you just started this TikTok. I mean, I'm finding Zoe really quick too. That's the other one. I'm going to search. So is it in a tagline, or is it, do you know if you did like
actually, if you search German Shepherd, it should be up there, or if you type in groomers of TikTok, it should be pretty high up there as well.
What kind of dogs do you have for yourself?
I have a German Shepherd, 2 Pomeranians, and then Ace is a Maltese Yorkie mix.
And Ace is the pack leader.
Ace is the leader, yeah. The smallest one and with the biggest attitude.
How old are your dogs?
Zoe's 11, Ace is 9, Gidget is 3, and Melvin is 3.
Which one's the shepherd?
Which one is the shepherd?
Yeah.
Zoe. She's the oldest.
And she's the oldest. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right, Zoe. Groomers of TikTok. I gotta see Zoe. We just lost my German Shepherd this summer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Did you find her? Yeah.
So you started doing this. This was in November, man.
Yeah, so that's like basically when I started posting the grooming videos. There's a few more before her, but not very many.
I'm gonna buy one of these sprayers too. There's only like a couple of them left. I'm gonna get one first, folks.
Yeah,
while I'm talking.
They're awesome. You're not gonna be able to buy them on Amazon anymore. They're all gonna be sold out.
But let that see. It's and where do you get so is there any products on Amazon as far as the shampoos that you recommend that they sell?
Amazon, the price of the shampoos that I buy are skyrocketed on there, so I wouldn't advise buying any of those shampoos on there. I really like the Nature's Choice line. That's my favorite line of shampoo.
Nature's Choice.
Yeah, which you should be able to go to any grooming supply store in the US online, and they should be a lot cheaper. And anybody can buy from a grooming supply store. You don't have to be a groomer. So that's where I would buy the shampoos because they're going to be the cheapest.
Fantastic. And there's Zoe right there. And then you have these different brushes too.
Yes.
And it's why here we got a question here. Why the 50-50 vinegar mix? What does that do?
So it speeds up the drying process. You can buy what's called like a quicker slicker spray, which you would buy from a grooming supply store, which does the exact same thing as vinegar water, only it's a lot more expensive. So you just get white vinegar and you mix it with half white vinegar, half water in a spray bottle. Spray them down, rub it through their coat with your hand or a brush. For whatever reason, it helps to dry the coat, but it also softens the coat. So it's almost like a conditioning treatment. And it doesn't smell like vinegar. Everybody asks, does the dog smell like vinegar after? Once vinegar is dry, it doesn't have a smell.
Very
So,
good. And then any other life hacks? Because that's so far we got the sprayer, we got the vinegar and water. Do you know what I recommend for yeasty paws?
what?
I recommend Monistat 7. And so
Mm-hmm.
they sell that at Walmart here. Super cheap. It's for yeast infections. And then I do a little bit of colloidal silver and hydrocortisone cream. And I'll
Good to
make
know.
nice paste. And do you know what? And then there's this ear enzyme that I use, Zymox.
Yep.
I
I
love
feel
it.
I feel like I've heard of that before.
It's like $12 on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the one with the hydrocortisone for like 20 some bucks. And so ears are a big issue.
Yeah.
You know,
Um, yeah, ear infections I see. Ear infections and skin problems are something that I see every single day. I do believe a lot of it has to do with commercial pet food. I'm not a vet. So I'm not going to sit here and say, I
Me
know what
neither.
causes it.
Right.
But
But
based
you
on
can
my
recognize patterns. You know what I'm saying?
exactly,
And you're smart,
exactly.
right?
So all of my dogs eat a raw diet, and none of my dogs have these problems. Now, my German Shepherd struggled with ear infections for the first 3 years of her life, yeast infections in her ears. It didn't matter what commercial pet food I switched her to, couldn't get rid of them. I'd be going in and out of the vet treating them, and it was very frustrating. And it was frustrating for her because she was always in pain.
Right.
Switched her to a raw diet. That was 8 years ago, and she never got an ear infection again.
Okay.
So that's just my experience, is that it has to do with their food.
Well, and knowledge through experience, that's
Mm-hmm.
the real knowledge based on just reading about something or whatever. When you have to experience it and see your loved one, your beloved dog in pain from a chronic issue, and
Mm-hmm.
then once it's solved, right? And we see a lot of that, especially with dog training, using aversives or anything like that. People want to do only positive only stuff, but a lot of times with these dogs, some of this behavior needs to be met head on. And
Yeah.
like, dude, this stops today.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a messy middle, what I call, right? And that's where I kind of get people bridged from the point that they want to be to the point that they are, all the while kind of coaching them through that messy middle,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you kind of are entrusted with these dogs, and there are some groomers that maybe shouldn't be grooming dogs, right? And what's something that is some tips and tricks that you can give people to select a good groomer?
It's hard to say how to select a good, you know what? The number one thing is you're going to want to look at reviews online. So it's really hard to go to a place like PetSmart, or like, a big box store like Petco, because they have so many different groomers there. So you can't go online and research each individual groomer there and find out what their ratings are, because they don't have that available, because it's just Petco or PetSmart. So if you find a local groomer that has their own business, that they're private, they're by themselves, you're going to be able to see those reviews online, how the animal turned out, whether or not the animal was stressed when it came home. Mind you, a lot of animals get stressed during grooming. Doesn't mean that the groomer is doing anything bad, but
Yeah.
you'll be able to go online and see reviews. So if you go search me, I have 5-star reviews all over the place. So obviously I must be doing something right. Otherwise, people would be unhappy. But for groomers, I see a lot of videos of groomers that, did something they shouldn't have done. And while I don't agree with it, a part of me feels bad for that groomer as well, because I can tell that they're getting very stressed out by the behavior of that pet. So one of the great things about private salons is that we have the ability to turn a dog away. And I've done it. I've worked on a dog where I said, you know what, I have a lot of patience, but my patients are starting to come to an end with this animal. I don't want to continue grooming it because it's not going to be good for the animal and it's not going to be good for me. So I'd simply tell the client, unfortunately, I can't provide you with services anymore. So that's the difference between that, because if you go to Petco or PetSmart, it's the boss that tells the groomer, you have to groom this dog. And then they're not enjoying the process and they don't want to do it, but they have to do it because it's, their job. They don't want to lose their job, right?
Right.
So private salons, we have the ability to say, this isn't for me. So,
Well, and just like you said, and how did you, like, when you started grooming, did you take like an apprenticeship? Did you go to a class? What did that look like for you?
So I was actually in school to be a hairdresser.
And look
And
at
I
your hair.
realized,
Look at your
thanks,
hair.
thanks. I realized pretty quickly on that I did not like working with people all day long. Someone would come through the door and I'd be like, oh, not another client. Like, I didn't want to work on them. So obviously that wasn't for me. So that summer I decided to go get a job at a local grooming shop, because I've always loved animals since I was young. And I thought, hey, it'll be fun just to do this all day long. I didn't think I was going to make a career out of it. And then the woman that worked there, she said, you know what, I think that you could do this like as a job. So I want to train you. Are you interested in learning? And I thought, hey, why not? Like, you can definitely train me how to groom. I picked it up so quick. I was grooming full time within 4 months of her training me.
Okay.
So that's pretty quick for someone to pick up scissors and be able to do a full groom. But I did have the knowledge of scissors and clipper work with people prior to that. So obviously that helped. And then I only worked for her for about 2 years, and then I opened up my own place. So I was 19 when I opened up my own salon.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, and that's it. And I think that, sometimes I talk to people, and there's this gal, Chalet down in Lincoln City, Oregon, who I was like, dude, you can move up here anytime you want to apprentice underneath me. And she's never worked with dogs or anything, and it's always been an open invitation, because I just see this thing, like, just something within her, that she has this intuitive type of gift with animals, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I think we just, some people kind of speak animal a little bit better than others, right?
Yeah.
And so that's another aspect of this, is that you're a dog lover, and you're passionate about the animals, and those
For sure.
people can be a drag sometimes, man. I used to bartend, and I think that's why I do these live streams, is just to get to meet and know people, because I miss bartending and chatting with people. But there's certain aspects that I do not miss at all.
No,
And
no.
it's people are interesting, man, especially this time and place, but we won't get into that.
Well, when you're a hairdresser, you have to work on somebody for like 3 hours. So you're there talking to someone for 3 hours. Eventually, you're just like, oh, like, and especially when it's those like dragging conversations where you don't really have anything in common with someone. So for grooming, I see the client for 5 minutes, they drop the dog off. I'm with the dog, and then they pick the dog up, and that's it. There's not much interaction between me and the person, especially now. We have contactless drop off because of COVID. So
Right.
I don't even see people anymore, which is, it's I'm here tonight alone with my 4 dogs. Like, that's where I like to be. So
You're in
yeah.
your happy space.
Yeah.
It's a lot different with the dog training, because we have to teach these people, watch them, coach them,
Exactly.
and we're right
Yeah.
there with them. So yeah, we definitely, whenever I say to people, whenever I hear, and it's been a common question that I've asked dog trainers, is like, what do you hear, or what do you tell people that say they got into dog training because they don't like people? And then they realize, dude, we're working with people a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
but and then we suggest maybe be a kennel tech, or somebody that's kind of behind in the back of the house or whatever. And where do you recommend, if somebody is interested in grooming, do you have any place that you recommend for people to go?
I There's schools around me that you can go to, but they're not legitimate schools. So your best option is to go to a box store, really, if you want to learn how to groom, because they
Really?
will send you for professional training. The
Okay.
only problem with that is that you're locked in with them for 1 year at least to work with them afterwards. So that's the only problem. So the best thing, if possible, is to find a local groomer that's willing to train you, because you don't actually need to have certification in order to be a dog groomer. They're trying to change that, but as of right now, you can just apprentice under someone, and then that's it. You can just go on your merry way. So finding a private salon, I feel, is the best way to do it, because you're one-on-one and you're learning a lot more. For example, PetSmart like doesn't allow things like the harness. They don't allow their groomers to use a harness.
Really?
So there's certain things that they don't allow. There's certain protocols. They don't allow crate drying for bulldogs, for example, because they say that bulldogs can't breathe properly, so they shouldn't be placed in a crate dryer.
Hmm.
In my experience, if you have a well ventilated crate dryer and you're not using heat, you can definitely put a bulldog in it, especially because bulldogs hate the dryer. I have a TikTok of that. All bulldogs, they hate the blow dryer. They will attack
Imagine
it. They will
that.
lose their minds. So if you can put them in a well ventilated crate that's blowing air at them, that's not warm, and it can dry them, it's safer for them. They're a lot happier with it. So PetSmart and Petco, they have certain protocols you have to follow. So it kind of sucks. Private salons, you get to more in depth and you learn things like the Save Your Fur nozzle. That's another thing. PetSmart and Petco don't have the Save Your Fur nozzle. It's not past their protocols that they can give it to their groomers. So you learn a lot more in a private salon than you would at a box salon like that.
Well, and you learn like bookkeeping and just like how the intake
Yeah.
and if you have any products that you sell there, right, and any
Hmm.
food or anything, that's what I've experienced. And a good groomer, man, they're worth their weight in gold, dude. Especially if you love your dog and want to care for them. And a lot of these dogs, it is a lifelong process, and that's why it's not really a choice.
Hmm.
And so when you can find somebody that they connect with and that knows what they're doing, it's a pretty cool thing. And so you have the tub, you have the blowers that help to dry them. Um, you put them all on these tables, and you have the lift. I want to get one of
Hmm.
those tables so bad here.
They're awesome.
Do you know what we use? We use have you a pedestal with working dogs.
Okay.
And so we'll have a tie out, okay? And then we'll have the dog and we'll train them that their front paws go on this pedestal. Okay? And especially for working dogs that might not really like that grooming process and might nail you,
Hmm.
that way you can groom them with having some separation, right? And some of the working dogs will have a tie out up here and a tie out down here, and we'll actually tie their head up and then tie their
Back end.
rear end, right? And
Yeah.
so they're really limited on what they're able to do, and so we can get a thorough brushing, and then not only that, then we hit their flank and get them used to walking from one side of the plank to the other side of the
Hmm.
or the pedestal, right? And so we groom one side, groom the middle if we want with both, and then
Yep.
groom that other side. And then when we approach them, then we'll approach them from the back. And so in case they do nail us, they're going to be nailing our back instead of our
Right.
face, right? And
Right.
so there's certain things, even husbandry stuff that we talk about that we need to do. And I encourage people. How do you encourage people to uptake more with their dogs? Is there anything that you say or do?
You mean like upkeeping their coats?
Upkeeping their coats and nail trims. That's the one thing that I see is the most, like, if I can get my people to just get that dog, desensitized to that nail trim,
Hmm.
especially. Oh, here she is.
Zoe.
No, this one
Oh.
is so this is Linda Kame, and she is a remarkable dog trainer on the East Coast for a long time. She's been training dogs longer than both of us have been alive, probably together. No, just kidding, Linda. Worked for a show handler in a bunch of years that specialized in hair breed terriers and what is that? Coifs? 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 I don't know what that is. Learn a ton. So she is.
Um, my assistant, I used to have an assistant, and he worked for show handlers. He showed dogs all the time. So when I hired him on years ago, he did know quite a bit. But he only knew mostly show quality grooming. He didn't know pet grooming. So it's not he taught me a lot of things that I didn't know, a lot of unique ways to brush hair and how they wrap the fur to keep it from getting matted, things I had no idea about. So I was really thankful for him. But there was still a lot of things that he didn't know in regards to pet grooming, because the majority of people that own animals don't own show dogs, right?
Right.
They own pets that they just want basic clips done on them. And show dogs are often a lot more well behaved because this is happening all the time and they're used to it. So that was one thing that he said to me was, this is a little bit different for me because these dogs do not want this done. And I am used to a dog just laying down on its side and me being able to line brush it, and it just doesn't care because it's so used to it. So I learned a lot from him, and he also learned a lot from me.
Well, and that's it, man. And sometimes as you learn that some of these dogs, they have some tells. You can see that they're wrapping up. They're very uncomfortable with this. And there's some of the dogs that are just like, you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And especially, I've been nailed with those nailed, or we get called for nail trims and stuff like that too, a lot, for
So the thing I say about anyone that comes to work, that had come to work for me, I work for on my own now, but in the past, I always said whenever you're doing nail trim, start with the back foot. Always start with the back foot,
okay.
because if they're going to nail you, there's much more distance for them
Right.
to get to you than if you start with the front foot. And that's how we usually started out. I was going to say something else now, but now I forget.
You
Something to
you
do with
learned a
the
lot from the, or your assistant learned a lot from you, laid down the
yeah.
I'm just
I've
kind of repeating to see if it strikes the
Oh, you asked me, you said you told people a way to get them to have their dogs getting used to nail trimming more. So what I do for my clients, if you're a regular client of mine, you can come in for a nail trim at any time, free of cost. I don't charge my clients for nail trimming. And that's my way of getting them to come in more frequently so that their dog gets used to it, and then they don't have to pay anything for it. So a lot of people do take advantage of that service.
Listen up, groomers. We have some groomers that definitely watch this, and I think we have some Canadian groomers even. So,
Oh,
um,
nice.
yeah. And then, a puppy cup is pretty universal. Um,
Yes.
and then she says one an additional income stream. Hey, Linda, she's on TikTok. Linda, she's got like 1.2 million followers on TikTok. She's the girl with the dogs on TikTok. So, but we all just joined TikTok. So just
Um,
FYI.
when she said teach handling classes, that's a really good thing that she said, because I was actually thinking about that. Can't do that right now with COVID. But once COVID is over and I can actually have people in my salon, I was considering having people come with their puppies, maybe only a few at the time, so I can show them little tips and tricks of how to help their pet get used to the grooming process. So it's interesting that she said that. I wish it's something I could start now with all the COVID puppies, but obviously we're on lockdown. I'm not even allowed to operate business right now here in Ontario, so there's not much we can do.
So crazy time we live in, man. I wanted to get back to normal like yesterday. Oh, we got Australian groomer here. Welcome, Ayla. And then she says, great. And then Linda says, do it. We start 2 new classes online in a week.
That's
So
a really good idea.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
if you ever need any type of training assistance, I have a brain trust of trainers, and even in your area, I'm sure. And, at the end of the day, bottom line is that we're here to benefit dogs, right?
Hmm.
And that's what we need more cooperation, I think. And that's why I talk to people in the pet world, and I'm a pet dog trainer myself.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I go to these working dog schools, and I learn because there's things that we can borrow, just like we borrowed some stuff just from you today, with the grooming, the products and things that are going to make it easier to maintain your dog. Now you have Pomeranians. What do you
Yes.
think is the most high maintenance dog there is?
Right now is going to be doodles. They're
And
extremely high
dang, man,
maintenance.
you are so booming right now with the doodle business. What do you think of the doodle biz and the doodle
So
bust?
the dogs themselves are wonderful. It's the owners of the dogs that aren't so wonderful. um, they have unrealistic expectations of what groomer is supposed to do for their dog. They don't brush their dogs, and then they bring their dog in and it's matted, and then they get mad at us. And I've had people call me lazy multiple times for not wanting
Oh
to
my
brush the matting
goodness.
out of their dog's coat.
Like you need to be
And
full
it's
cut.
just, brushing the matting out of its coat is going to be super painful for your dog, super painful for me. And not only that, but your dog is never going to want to see me again. So now it makes for a reactive dog for grooming, because they remember that they were in pain when they came to the groomer before. So
Amen.
that is the biggest problem right now with people getting doodles and not understanding that they literally need to see the groomer every 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
So you're going to spend thousands of dollars buying a dog, and then you're going to spend so much money every year getting your pet groomed because it's not cheap and it shouldn't be cheap. Those are two hair textures that never should have been bred together. And it just makes for an extremely difficult coat to manage. Even me as a professional, I don't think I'd be able to own a doodle. I really don't think I'd be able to do the upkeep on that dog's coat.
Dehatch that massive Bernedoodle that is brushed before. Of course you can. So what brush do you recommend for them?
I love my Chris Christensen coral brush. It's a lifesaver.
Chris Christensen coral. So how do you Chris Christensen? Let's see what Google has to say. Christensen. My skipper keys. Do you have any skipper keys that come in at all?
You know what? I had one come in for the first time ever a little while ago. I'll never see him again. He's been flying all around the world being shown. But he was so cute. I've never seen one of those dogs in person before.
Really? I have. I breed them.
Oh, yeah. I've only ever seen one.
Yeah, let me know if you ever want a skipper key because they're awesome. So this is a slicker brush.
It's a slicker brush, but that's not the only tool you're going to use. That is a great brush.
So is that it right there? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Very expensive.
Okay.
Worth every frickin' penny. But also you're going to need to use a metal comb. So you're going to brush your dog with that first, and then you're going to go through them with a metal comb. And if the metal comb cannot get through their coat, then they are matted. So these things need to be done.
And then metal comb. So what is this? What is this here? The rake. What do you do this one for?
The rake is going to be for a shedding dog. It's I use an Undercoat rake, that one exactly, on my German Shepherd, and it does a really good job of de-shedding her.
Okay.
Every
what about Furminator? Do you use a Furminator at all?
I don't use the Furminator at all. I use the Equi Groomer instead, which I don't think you can find the Equi Groomer on Amazon, maybe.
Equi Groomer. Let's find out. It's listed. Nope.
No. So wait, no, the orange one. I think that's it. Yeah.
So what is this? Man, I'm glad I'm talking to you.
So it's a de-shedding brush. It works, to me, in my opinion, it works better than the Furminator. I particularly like to use it on short, smooth-coated dogs more than the long-haired dogs. But it still does. I've used it on retrievers, and it still does work really well.
Is it little?
Cats works great on cats. You can buy all different sizes.
Okay.
It's made for horses. That's what it was designed for.
Look at the cat, and there's the look at that poor puggy face, man.
Not happy.
I know. Look at that. I can't stand it. Old guy.
So much hair. They shed so bad.
Yeah. So, and then, do you ever use a Dremel?
So I have a Dremel. I use it on my own dogs. I don't like to use it on client dogs.
Okay.
It depends on the particular dog, but there's been too many incidences where the dog moves and then it catches the hair and it rips the hair, or it hits me while I'm using it, and I can't stand that. So for me, I think it's just safer to clip my clients' nails, unless I know that they're very relaxed and will let me Dremel them, no problem. Okay. But most of them, not so much. Most of them, it's just easier just to clip the nail as quickly as possible. A lot of groomers will, say that they love the Dremel, which is great. It's just not.
I like the.
Yeah.
Well, and I do the diamond.
Yeah.
The diamond tip. So the diamond is like twice as much as the Dremel,
Right. Yeah, I use it for my own pets, and I do obviously love it. It's obviously great to grind down the nail. Obviously, you get them a lot shorter too. Yeah. But for client dogs that aren't that very well behaved, I find it easier to use the clipper.
Okay.
Less dangerous.
Oh, wait. So Greyhound for the win. Cherrybrook.com. That's what she says. For all your specialty grooming. Do you know about Cherrybrook?
I don't. I'm assuming it's an American site.
There, yeah, she's an American too. By a mile. Furminator is not a great tool.
No, I don't like it.
Why? I mean, I've never. Is it just cut it, or is it not practical for a pro shop? That's what she says. Just you don't like it.
I just don't find it does the best job at de-shedding the undercoat. The best way to de-shed an undercoat is to give them an appropriate bath, blow their coat out with a high velocity dryer, and then using tools like an undercoat rake, a metal comb, and the equine groomer. But really, you're going to get the majority of the hair out in the bathtub using something like the Save Your Fur nozzle, and using the high velocity dryer. It does the best job at removing as much of that hair as possible. So at home, maybe the Furminator would be nice for someone, but
teeth are close like a flea comb, and it rips at the hair. That's what Linda says.
Okay.
The all-knowing Linda. So, and then the blowers and all that stuff, or specialty blowers. What do you do with bulldogs? You just wash them?
Yeah, bulldogs come in for a bath because obviously a lot of them stink, especially the wrinkles in their face.
They
They
get
really
like
need those scrubbed.
and like
Yeah.
people don't realize it, man.
No.
You know, they don't know what they're getting into a lot of times when they get these dogs, especially these doodle breeds.
Yeah.
Right. It might be a cool dog, but man, the maintenance, excuse me, the training. Then we have Huskies, we have German Shepherds. You had that collie mix, I think, that you had with that undercoat.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally golden retrievers.
I love golden retrievers. I think they're wonderful.
Too.
If anyone asks me what kind of dog should I get, I've never had a dog before. Golden retriever, hands down, in my opinion. They're just, I've personally never worked on a golden retriever that was aggressive to me in any way. Maybe a little bit annoying for grooming, but other than that.
You should get one someday. Do you think
me?
You'd ever get, yeah.
I probably will never get a golden retriever. I'm a shepherd girl. I love my German shepherds. So when she passes, I will probably get another German shepherd. That will probably be my large breed dog always. I did have a boxer for 8 years, and he was wonderful as well. But I don't think I'll ever get a boxer again because they are just not the most intelligent breed of dog. They're super cute, but not all there completely.
I tell people patience. We need some patience with this guy, And there are dogs that are top 10 high IQ, and there's dogs that are bottom 10 high IQ, or bottom 10 low IQ. And anytime that I have bull in the name, anytime I have hound in the name, I'm just like, okay, that means to me patience.
Yeah.
I've had some smart boxers, but for the majority, they're just happy-go-lucky goofballs, and and if you ever need a shepherd, let me know. I know some very good German shepherds. Do you ever want to do anything with your shepherd, like bite work or precision?
I would love to do bite work. Okay. I definitely want a working line German shepherd. I don't want a shepherd that has a slanted back, one of those show shepherds. It's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the straight back shepherds. Yeah. And I like them to be on the smaller size. Like my girl is only about 65 pounds. So she's 11 years old. She doesn't have any hip or joint problems at all. So I do think a lot of that has to do with the size of the dog. Obviously, the bigger the dog, the more at risk they are as they get older. So female German Shepherd for sure, somewhere in the future. She's 11 now. I'm hoping she'll live till she's 15. So it probably won't be for a while, but yeah.
I learned that a lot of these, like Napopo is a school out of Belgium taught by Michael and Bart Bellin, and check it out. They're all about the working dog. And I asked them which do they prefer, the male or female, and they prefer males.
Do they?
Yeah. And I said, why? And it's because when the female goes into heat, sometimes she's like, nah.
You know what? They're right, because my female in the first 2 years of her life, she was a little bit crazy. I had to do a lot of work with her in order to get her to be the dog that she is today. But I think it's a matter of whether or not you're willing to put in that work. A lot of socialization, obedience training. There's, for example, she was prong collar training in the beginning, and I had Rottweilers for years before that. So I had 3 Rottweilers, and they did wonderful with the prong collar training. And you pulled on that prong and she just lost it. Would jump up at me, try to bite the leash, bite my hand, not really bite me, but mouthing me to tell me to stop. So that was an experience for me to see that, okay, this type of training is not going to work for her. So what do I do now? I was kind of confused. Yeah. Fortunately, we figured it out, but I can understand that she went into heat and then she went a little bit not so nice, but we got her back to being good. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things I prefer females myself, and but I'm not a working dog guy, I don't. I'm a lover dogs, and doing the skipper key stuff. And you should definitely have a skipper key. I could
He
see
was
it.
really cute. I really liked him.
But you know what? They didn't. I mean, they don't really need that much upkeep.
No, they don't have the coat like the Pom. The Poms
Yeah.
have that crazy. My Pomeranians are a lot of work for grooming. They had a much nicer coat to work with.
What do you do with the Palm? Do you save? It's not the same brush, right? You don't do that slicker with them, do you?
I
Or do you?
use the Chris Christensen Coral brush on my Poms. I
Okay.
also use the All Systems slicker brush on my Pom as well.
All
Um,
slicker brush.
with the Pomeranian, the best part, not the best part, the most important part of their groom is blowing them out
Okay.
with the high velocity dryer. That really helps to loosen up their undercoat so that the brushing isn't so it doesn't pull so much. A lot of people that have Poms at home, they just try to brush. Unfortunately, like it will help, but it's not good enough. They need that undercoat bathed, conditioned, and blown out to really be able to work with them.
So what's the difference between the Christensen and the all slickers brush? Just the shape of the prongs?
And the length of the pins. The pins are really long on the Chris Christensen curl brush, which is great for long coated breeds.
Okay.
This one I find to be really good as well. It's not as good as the CC curl brush, I wouldn't say,
Okay.
but this one I find does not pull the hair as much when you're brushing. So for dogs that really don't like that hair pulling, I find this one is better. It's really depends on the type of coat that you're working with.
Okay. And then is there any brush that you recommend for people? Because my guy doesn't really like the slicker brush.
For your Skipperkey? Because I don't know much about that breed and I only ever groomed one once, I don't really have much of a recommendation on them.
I just
Because I
use the
don't.
regular brush, like with the little balls on the end of the prongs, you know. And he
Oh, so
tolerates
so a
that.
pin brush, like a
Is that
pin
what that's
brush you
called?
use.
Pin
I
brush.
think, yeah.
Okay.
I think definitely talking to a handler that shows them would probably know how to maintain their coat better than I would, considering I've only ever seen one once in my lifetime.
Pin brush. Let me see this. Yeah, totally. That's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I do, the pin brush, and that's what he tolerates. So let me show this, what this is. And then not only that, but the other side too. But because he was biting at the slicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was going through because his coat wasn't so thick that it was kind of hurting him or scratching him or something. And then I would do this, and then it was much more tolerable for him. Do you find that some dogs you just have to get through it? And they're
It depends. If it's like a dog that doesn't get shaved, a double coated dog, like a Pomeranian or something, I'm going to brush them until they absolutely cannot handle it because I really don't want to shave them. A lot of groomers will shave Poms because they think they're matted, but really it's just a compacted undercoat. And if you bathe and condition and blow out that undercoat with a high velocity dryer, it's usually a lot easier to brush afterwards, and then you don't have to shave them. A lot of groomers that I don't think are well trained don't know that, or they've never had the high velocity dryer. When I worked for the woman who trained me how to groom, she didn't use high velocity dryers on small dogs. She only used them on big dogs. So we used just a little handheld dryer to dry a freaking Cocker Spaniel. And we would just be sitting there all day long, and Cocker Spaniels take a long time to dry. When I think back to that, I think to myself, why did she not invest in a high velocity dryer for these dogs? Like we would be there for hours blow drying these dogs.
no kidding.
So it really depends on. That's the problem I find with groomers is they don't want to spend the money on the appropriate equipment. They think they'll find, a cheaper way and it'll be better for them financially, but you have to spend money to make money. Spend the money on your high quality products because it will make your job easier. You will be able to groom more dogs in a day and therefore make more money.
Yeah, bottom line, it all boils down to that bottom line. But it's also like know where you can cut corners too. Know where like it's the good quality products absolutely are going to, but just like you said, for that sprayer and stuff, you just saved yourself $100 or a few $100 that you can turn and invest back into that company. A penny saved is a penny earned, as long as it doesn't undercut the service that you provide. You're still providing this quality service.
Right.
In fact, you're providing a more quality service because you have the product that gets the job done, and it's I love these little workarounds. I love when you find something, a solution, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. I figured it out without spending so much money. I bought a floor scrubber just now because this place went under, and I got it from an auction, and I bought it for 1/10 of the price that I typically would buy it for. We have a question. We have a short-haired foster dog who has dandruff. She is a Chihuahua mix, has been fed raw dynamic, rabbit plus Volhard rescue for over a month. She sheds a bit. I'm using aloe oat shampoo, a rubber brush. Ooh, so rubber brushes and stuff. Do you use any of that?
Honestly, I've never used a rubber brush on
Okay.
any dog, so I don't have any recommendations about it.
Okay, but she has that freaking thing, man. That blows my mind when I saw all that hair, what was left over, that sprayer, you know?
What is raw dynamic? Is it a raw pet food? Or is it a kibble?
Yeah, raw dynamic pet food plus Volhard rescue. So Volhard is an additive that they put into these the pet food that these champion dogs use that is a raw part of a raw diet. That's like supplemental stuff. That's legit. She sheds a bit, and I'm using aloe out shampoo, rubber brush, putting coconut oil on her coat, but she still's got dandruff. Do you have any suggestions for him?
I don't have any suggestions regards to
New York City raw food. So they're in New York City, locally made in New York
City. It's raw food. Okay.
Yeah.
You can try switching to an omega oil instead of a coconut oil, like a fish oil or a flaxseed oil. Coconut oil is great, but flaxseed oil or fish, like a herring oil, might be better. I can't say for sure. Your dog could have allergies, and that could be the reason why there's so much dandruff. So it's hard to find out exactly what your dog is allergic to. There was something else she said there, though, that I wanted to read. I can't remember what she said. Oh, the oatmeal. Oatmeal shampoo dries out the skin. So I would remove oatmeal shampoo entirely. Switch to something else. Aloe vera is great, but oatmeal shampoo actually makes the skin drier, in my opinion. Every time I use it on a dog that has dry skin, or on my own dogs, they itch afterwards. So that could be part of the problem.
Stacy just suggested add in some probiotics, also improve that gut health.
Yeah, I give my dogs raw fermented goat's milk, which is full of probiotics. They love it. So that's a good additive to do to a raw diet. And yeah, oatmeal feeds yeast. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a sugar.
It's grain.
It's a sugar. It boils down to a simple carbohydrate, which that is food for yeast, and that's it, and then there's books that show us, even human beings, our probiotics in our lower gut, our enteric nervous system. It's called the second brain, right? But it's actually, I call it the first brain, because if you took all of the surface area of our enteric nervous system and laid it out, we'd have about the size of a tennis court. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it is wild. It's crazy to think that.
Yeah, and it's like it's a parallel communication center. But I'm glad that I'm not aware of all the stuff that's happening in my stomach, right now. Which shampoo do you recommend? I will add goat milk and probiotics. Thank you.
If you're going to add probiotics, you don't need to add the goat's milk, because goat's milk has probiotics in it. You want to get raw fermented goat's milk that is full of probiotics. So you don't need to do both. You can do one or the other. What shampoo I would recommend? I really like Seuss Mineral Rich Mud Shampoo. I don't know if you guys can find that in the States. Spelled S-O-O-S.
Seuss, S-O-O-S, Mineral Rich Mud Shampoo. So it's on Chewy. Oh, dude, it's on Amazon. Seuss Mineral Rich. Here, let me share the thing here so I can make sure. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Stop screen. Sorry, I'm talking to myself.
That's okay.
All right, there it is.
Yeah, that's the shampoo.
So Seuss, and I will try, if I can remember, to put up links into the comments down below. But if not, then just check it out. All this stuff is on Amazon. And then we have another question here for you. Hi, Vanessa. This is our Australian groomer. Do you have a preference on what type of coat you enjoy to groom more than others? I have a rough collie, and a double coat blows out for me are just so satisfying. Is that the guy in the...
Yeah. So double coat blowouts for me are definitely my favorite. Rough collies, every rough collie I've ever worked on, they're always so matted because they're not well maintained at home. So they are definitely not my favorite ones to blow out. That collie in the video is definitely one of my favorites to blow out. But my absolute favorite dog to groom is a Pomeranian. Always the Poms. I have a soft spot for them. Don't ask me why, but they have adorable personalities, and I love getting all that undercoat out of their fur. When the owners pick them up, they're always so shocked that they can feel their dog's skin again. They come in so compacted. It's nice to get that all out.
I love Pomeranians, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're just something else. They're characters, dude. They're like
Yeah.
little bold little dogs, you know.
When I met my boyfriend, he said he didn't like dogs, which was interesting because my whole life is surrounded by dogs. But now this is his baby.
Oh my goodness, I got a Merle.
She's so cute.
Not a Merle. That is what is it? Roan.
She's a
Roan coat.
Merle. She's a blue Merle.
Blue Merle, but the Roan, the genetic code is called a
Oh,
Roan,
Roan.
right? I wonder if they're born white.
She
Because
sent
all
me a picture.
my girls, like all my Roan dogs that are Merle like that, they were all born white.
I don't know if she was born white. She sent me pictures of her when I think she was only a few days old, and she was Merle. I think
Okay.
she was only a few days old, but yeah.
Yeah, that's been what a treat, man. I just started to breed dogs myself, and I love it. I love it so much, and I love the fact that I work with training dogs so I can produce amazing dogs
Hmm.
and amazing pet dogs, right? Amazing
Yep.
cute pet dogs that people love. So awesome, man. Well, I think that's good to go. We've been chatting for an hour here, and I so appreciate you. And what do you think about this journey that you're on, Vanessa?
I don't know where it's going to take me. We'll see. I didn't expect to have 1.2 million followers or be invited on all of these shows and interviewed by so many people. So it's kind of shocking to me. I'm just a pet groomer in a small town in Niagara Falls, Ontario. So yeah, I don't know. It's been wild. It's blown my mind a little bit.
Cool. I mean, I
Yeah.
was blowing my mind too, and it's just what a cool world we live in, where so many people walk around with looking for things to be offended by, where we have so many things to be like blown away by,
Hmm.
and you know this technology where we can reach out and you know connect with one another based on the passions that we share, and we can help each other out based on the conversations that we have, right?
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Well,
So
thank you
cool.
so much for
You're
having me
welcome.
on the show.
It was my pleasure. So, how do people find you? So, TikTok, you are Perfect Pooches, right?
No, TikTok, I
Oh,
am Girl with the Dogs.
Instagram is what I meant. Instagram, you're Perfect Pooches.
Perfect Pooches Grooming on Instagram.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then Perfect Pooches Dog Grooming is my page on Facebook.
Okay. Cool. And I'll tag you on that when I post this up too. And then, if you want to wait for just 1 second, I'll say goodbye to you in the studio, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody that's watching. And you know, thank you again, man. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I think that the success that you've had so far is just the beginning. And I look forward to watching your journey as well, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And Stacy says, great talk. Nice to know you. And thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
Bye, everybody.